All right. So one of the questions I get asked the most by friends, family, and just pretty much anyone I meet on the street when I mention that I work remote, I'm traveling and working, and as long as I have a good Wi-Fi connection, I'm good to go. And people ask, "How did I get started? How are you doing this?" Some form of that question. So I'm going to talk about how I like my personal story, how I got to where I am today. And it was kind of like a slow transition, and I'll explain that. Doesn't mean it has to be necessarily. Like if you're looking to get started, you could get, it could be literally overnight. You find a remote job, boom, you can work from anywhere, and all of a sudden you're a digital nomad, right? So yeah, but this is just for me how it worked. Um, and also, I've been just making a few other YouTube videos and tips and tricks, and I just realized, I've been talking about how to do all this, like these finer things, like little investments you can make anywhere. And I mean, I'll have a lot more to talk about how to find jobs, and I didn't really get into my own story yet. And I like talking about myself and maybe my experience, and kind of give you an idea, like tip for inspiration. Also, give you some ideas for where to look, and just yeah, again, if I could do it, why can't you? So I got started about 8 years ago, and yeah, give or take 8 years ago, I was just recently out of college, living with my parents, living the dream, and I was working at a job in Chicago, just traditional, like your butt in the desk all day, and wasn't too happy with it. But there, the one good thing is I kind of got started. This is when Twitter, like probably within the first year of Twitter launching, social media and social media marketing was just like a brand new thing. So it was like a social media internship. And at the time, I really knew nothing about social media besides having my own Facebook account. That was about it. And yeah, I took the internship. I was actually unpaid at the time, but I started learning, and I got some good experience there, and eventually quit the job because just wasn't a big fan. Um, I actually had to wear, it was back in the day. I actually had to wear. I can't believe I did this. Uh, a nice dress shirt with a tie to work every day. That drove me crazy too. But I didn't know anything different. It was my first job out of college. Um, So yeah, I quit that, and then I started using my social media experience. Let's be honest, I didn't know a whole lot, but I knew like basics of Twitter and using like Hootsuite and TweetDeck. These are whatever, it doesn't matter. The platforms to help you manage your tweets and Twitter activity. But I learned some basic stuff there, and I then went to find uh, some freelance part-time work, just like even a few hours a week. I was getting paid like $10 an hour at the time. Um, but to me, going from an unpaid internship, that was a lot. So I got, a few jobs here and there. I was doing some babysitting too back in my town. Now that's not working remote, but I just, paying the bills, so to speak. And by paying the bills, I mean helping my parents with grocery money. It's the least I could do for living there for free. But yeah, and then I began transitioning, doing a little bit of social media work here and there. And from this freelance job where I was setting up different accounts for clients, uh, it was for a company, but when I, helped and I worked with some of their clients one on one, finally I was building also my own Twitter account, just like with little tips and tricks I would learn along the way. I would tweet them, and I started getting a couple of my own clients. Could charge a little bit more money. Again, I was like 20, 23 or something, 22. I couldn't really charge that much. Didn't have too much experience, but it was a start. Got my own clients, and to make a long story short, one day I met this lovely au pair, German au pair girl in my hometown, taken actually at the train. It was her and a few other Germans, and I had done an internship in Switzerland just learned like the basics of German. Barely spoke any, like a couple Guten Tag and ein Bier bitte, and that was about it, which means one beer, please. But I knew enough that I recognized they were speaking German. I was like, ah, Deutsch, sehr gut. And, I kind of became friends with this group of au pairs. And as you may have guessed, that this friendship, I was hanging out with all of them, but then something developed with one of them, and actually she ended up becoming my girlfriend a few months later. And really telling the story of my life here. Um, So yeah, she everything was great. We were dating for a little while. She was an au pair in my hometown, but then she eventually had to go back to Germany. And I was like, all right, well, let's see. I'm half the jobs I do besides babysitting, like the other half of my work is just working at home doing social media work. And now I have a girlfriend who's going to be living in Germany. And I also have teaching experience. When I was a student at Indiana University, I taught a couple of my own courses, and I was like, well, I can do teaching. Teaching English is like the easiest job for a foreigner, an English speaking foreigner to get abroad. And then I still can keep up with my own social media clients. I can do that wherever. So with those two income streams, I think that'll be plenty. Not going to get rich. I'm not like, and that's like had my own business. Um, but I had some freelance work, and it was enough for me to just start a new adventure. Any excuse to get out of my parents' house was pretty good. So I took that. I went to Germany, and I took this 1 month English teaching certification course. And this is also a really cool way to just kind of get your feet wet, and just, you can't wait to get out the door and go to Europe or go to, actually Asia pays the best from what I've heard for English teaching. But yeah, I really, I wanted to go to Europe. I want to go to Germany to be with my girlfriend. You can still make a decent living there for sure doing English teaching, and although that's not technically working remote, it does give you an excuse to like literally go anywhere and teach English. So that's just a cool thing to look into. In different countries, they're more strict about certification requirements. In Germany, they really want you to they're all about having the degrees and the right certification. So I took a 1 month English training course called the CELTA, which is like the big recognized one, stands for Certificate of English Language Teaching for Adults, CELTA. And I took that 1 month course, and I was good to go. I got a few English teaching jobs, again freelance, so I could keep doing my social media stuff on the side. And I really enjoyed that. I did that for a couple of years, about 2 to 3 years. And as time went on, I realized I could charge a lot more to my clients doing social media work than I was making teaching English, even though teaching English was a lot of fun. So I slowly began transitioning. Plus, I love the fact that I could just work from home, work in my pajamas, work in my underwear, work in bed, all that, because no one was looking at me. So I began doing more and more social media work. I got some clients in Germany, did a little consulting for them, and less English teaching because it just didn't pay that well. It was okay, but just I would make more doing social media. And so I got more freelance clients. I used like my work to spring that what I my clients the work I've already done. I kind of published that like on a Tumblr or something, and was active on Twitter back then. Really into doing like also they call it community management, where you take like a brand and or a small business, whatever, and you manage their Twitter and their Facebook page and whatever social accounts they have, Instagram. And so that's really how I got started doing remote, and I would do that more and more till finally I woke up one day. I don't know, like if it was like a sudden thing or what the trigger moment was, but I was like, I woke up. I was like, I don't really need to do English teaching anymore. Uh, but so that was fine. I was making enough money to live. Still, I'm not getting rich. Even though I could charge more money for, say hour by hour for my social media work, still spend a lot of time looking for clients. Whereas when you're an English teacher, once you get into a school and they give you classes, if you do good work for them, they'll just keep giving you more classes as long as there's the demand for that. So Yeah, I guess that would be a downside to doing your own freelance, whatever, whether it's for me, it was social media marketing, but for you, it could be like copywriting or whatever your skill is that you can do online, website design, right? Have Even if you can charge a ton, you still got to spend time always finding new clients and finding new work, and that was getting a little bit tiresome. So again, I have a solid experience, but I decided I wanted to look for full-time work. So I went onto websites like, I don't think they had this back then, but weworkremotely.com is a really good website you can use to find remote jobs. So I went onto websites like that. Not only that, but one of my favorite job search books, What Color is Your Parachute? It's like the classic all-time best-selling. You can just Google it. What color is your parachute? Best-selling job hunt book. Oh, I gotta get going. But yeah, I use that. One of the strategies is, I'll just wrap this up in a couple minutes, is to actually find companies that you like that don't have any job postings listed officially, but, like, I use using different kinds of software, as part of my own social media, and I message those companies like, "Hey, I've been using your software, and I like what you do, and if you have any openings, let me know. Here's my experience." I just give them, like, a link. "Here's my LinkedIn profile, and, hey, let's keep in touch." And the cool thing about that is then you have, like, 0 competition, so when you just email companies, directly, or reach out to them however you can, without going through like the officially applying for the job posting, where you're competing with maybe hundreds of or even thousands of applicants. This way, it's just like direct. Of course, a lot of times they're not looking for work or whatever, but if they do happen to be in that place where they're like, oh, maybe we could use a little bit of help, you can get lucky. And that's exactly what happened to me. I messaged a company and they said, "Yeah, actually, we're not looking right now, but we might in the near future. Let's keep in touch." I was like, "All right, cool." Didn't really expect anything, but it was nice to get that response. Sure. Next thing you know, a couple months later, I hear back from him, and he was like the CEO there, small company but growing. He's like, "Yeah, actually, now we really want to start hiring people. We thought of you because you had reached out to us first, and we like your experience. So let's talk." One thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was working full time for an awesome startup in Colorado. I visited Colorado, kind of met the guys there, and yeah, kind of like learned what the job was about. And then they let me. I told them from the beginning, "Hey, listen, I like being in Germany. I like working remote, so I'm happy to visit Colorado, but I want to go back and be remote after some time." And they let me do it, and that was basically it. I found a couple other full time, and I got some great experience there, and then used that to springboard to some other full time jobs. Similar work. Transitioned now a little bit more, not doing really social media, more customer service, customer support, and sales. Um, but again, yeah, it was all kind of like a natural transition from one thing led to another. And that led me to where I am today. So I'm going to end this now. Now you know my entire life story. Kind of some funny, crazy things happen along the way, but um, I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I can always tell my funny stories in other videos. So now you know how I got to where I am today. And that's it. All right. Have a good one. I don't know how to end these. I got to figure out like a cool way to like, "See you later, alligator," something like that. Nah, probably not that one, but I'll figure it out. Cool. All right. Bye.